Hey, I just want to share with you guys. This is a test bench for Williams System 11 MPU. I consider it amateur. It's for Grand Lizard System 11 Williams pinball machine. I used a variable power supply, and I don't really recommend it because the 5 volt and the 12 volt do not offer enough amperage to really drive what we need for the System 11 MPU board, but I made it work anyway, so if you can find a good deal on it, it's good, but find something with more amperage to make it work for this application. I used a lot of Siegecraft test gear, and I'll show you these real quick. They're the button for the coin door, solenoid tester, special solenoid tester, and the switch matrix, and the light matrix works very well. The most expensive piece that I used was these LED displays, and it's well worth it because the high voltage is extremely dangerous, and these are 5 volts, these LED displays, and so I recommend it. Although it cost a good amount of money from Xpin, it's well worth it, and you can use it in your machines too after you're done with a test bench such as this. So what I did to begin with this board, which would not boot the first time I had it, it would not boot whatsoever, had no LED like it does today, and what I used first was the Leon's test ROMs for U6, U26, and U27, and it gave life to this board and showed that it was still functional. And so what happened was I discovered that the reset circuit for this test bench, or for this test MPU, was not functioning correctly. So what I did was I used the MCP 120-460GI/TO mod to fix the reset circuit on this board to allow it to boot. And before I get too far, I wanted to show you some of the equipment that I used, which is the multimeter, logic probe, the Eprom puller, along with the Eprom eraser and the Eprom programmer, which is a TL8662 Plus. And other than the reset circuit not working, one thing I discovered was this Eprom, the U27, was corrupt. And so I ended up reprogramming it, and it brought the board to life. So this is equipment that I used, and I wanted to just share with you. After I had the Eprom programmed and the board functional on the LED display, there was some segments that were out. And so I ran some traces between, I believe it was U42 and 1J22 and fixed the traces to allow all of these segments to function correctly. And so I wanted to show you it functioning the way it is during a normal gameplay. And so what we can do is go into the test mode for a System 11 pinball machine using the Siegecraft button here. And we can show the music test. Unfortunately, I do not have a soundboard for this test bench, so I'll move on to the next test, which is display test, and you'll see all of the segments functioning properly on the display test. I'll move on to the sound test. So I have a speaker set up. It's not the best speaker. I actually took a car speaker and I wired it up to test the sound. So I will hook that up real quick to show you that the sound is working properly. As it goes through the different sound checks. I also have a POTS switch hooked up to the volume control to allow adjustment of the sound. And you can hear that the sound is working properly. It's a little noisy, but it is working properly. Then I'll move on to the next test, which is all lamps, and I'll use this Siegecraft lamp matrix test board to show you that all the lamps are working properly. And show all lamps, and then single lamps. Show the first lamp, which is the game over lamp. And we can use the Siegecraft column and rows switch matrix board to switch between some of the different lamp matrix, such as shoot again, and you'll see that it's lighting up the correct LED that corresponds to the shoot again. And I'll move on to the bonus 3X, and you'll see that as we go through the lamp matrix, it's working properly. And I'll let you know that the Siegecraft test equipment cost about $60 or $70, which is not too bad. And I have the lamp matrix, test LEDs, the switches, the solenoids, and the coin door switch, along with special solenoids. That's the equipment that I have from Siegecraft, which is very good. And we can do a coil test. And I do not have enough of these solenoid testers to show every single one of them, but it does show the ones that are on the J12 test. Let me see if I can show you that. And you'll see that the LEDs correspond to the solenoids. And I also have this special solenoid switch that I can test the special solenoids with. However, I do not have it connected because I only have one. And I do not have it hooked up currently, but I can move this over to J19 and test that, and I have, and it is good. And then I can do the switch level testing using the Siegecraft switch matrix tester. And you'll see I'll choose column 1, row 1. You'll see the tilt. Column 1, row 2. And all of the corresponding switch matrix that I choose, I can test to show that they're all working. Then I'll move on. There's switch edges. And then go back to the Grand Lizard.